So you just got your new Tracker Mini and you want to get going as soon as possible, but don't feel like reading the manual. Let me save you some time with this quick start guide where I'll show you around the most common shortcuts, basic settings, and share some tips. If you look at the official Polyend forum called Backstage, there are a whole bunch of changes and additions in the works, which I'm assuming will be released over the coming months, which is very exciting. With that in mind, at the time of recording this, I was using firmware version 1.0.0 build 492. Let's jump in. Hold the menu button to see the main sections, menus, or modes of the device. Use the D-pad to navigate between the blocks. Alternatively, navigate using the shortcut buttons. The 4 numbered buttons are dedicated shortcuts to your favorite menus or pages. Holding Shift while pressing these give you 4 more shortcuts, so you have 8 in total. These are fully customizable. To customize these, go to the config menu and scroll down to the FN buttons binding. I was happy with the first 4 but changed my shift function so mine will look different from the factory defaults. Some of these menus have more than one page. Let's take the master menu for instance. To access the additional pages, just press the shortcut button again. So say you're in the pattern mode, to get to the master menu press 4. If you press 4 again, it'll take you to the second page of 3. This is indicated in the top left corner. Pressing it again will take you to the last page. This applies to all menus that have subpages. You'll be pressing the record button a lot. To edit, record, copy and paste, etc., you will need to enable record mode by pressing the red record button. It will turn the playhead selection red. If it's disabled, it'll be green, which means it's in play mode. Play mode moves with the playhead as the song is playing. Record mode stays on the step where you were last editing or entering notes or effects. As you toggle between the two, the contextual screen functions will change. Menu items will be underlined in either green or red to show you which function is tied to which of the 2 modes. Because tracks on the Tracker Mini are not tied to specific instruments, you can have various different sounds on the same track. It can get confusing as to what's what. To preview a step or sound, make sure you're in playback mode and on the sound you want to hear. Then just click the enter button in the middle of the D-pad to get a preview. Constantly toggling between record and play modes take a bit of getting used to, and it can cause you to make unintended changes to things if you're not careful, but you do get used to it and it is easy to undo. To undo something, press the undo contextual screen button in record mode. You can undo your last 20 actions. I'll link to the official Polyend video in the description that goes into more depth, but very basically, the Tracker Mini's workflow evolves around the 4 colored buttons. Notes is teal, instruments is yellow, and the 2 effects buttons are pink and blue. Also a quick note, as I don't want to repeat myself constantly throughout the video, whenever you're using the plus and minus buttons for anything, the big ones will always adjust the value in bigger increments while the small ones will make smaller changes. Hold menu and go to the sample loader menu. In the browser, navigate to your samples on the SD card. You can preview samples by holding the contextual screen button for preview. To load your sample, press Add or the Enter button. That sample will then be loaded into your first instrument slot. You can load up to 48 samples or instruments per project. Press the 1 button to go to your pattern window. Enable record mode and navigate to your desired step using the D-pad. To enter a note on that step, hold the note button, which will open a keyboard of sorts, for you to pick the note you want. Alternatively, you can just press the enter button on the desired step, which will enter the last note you entered previously, or I believe a C0 note by default. You can then use the big plus and minus buttons to jump an octave, or the smaller ones to move up or down by 1 note. You will hear the notes as you flick through them using the plus and minus keys. The sound which that note triggers is our instrument. If we had more instruments loaded, we could change the instrument again by either holding the instrument button and using the pop-up menu along with the plus and minus buttons to make our selection. Or we can press the instrument button once and then flick through the loaded instruments using the plus and minus buttons the same way we auditioned our notes. Finally, if we want to add an effect to this note and instrument in our step, we can use the 2 effects buttons in the same way. Hold the FX1 or FX2 buttons and use the pop-up menu along with the plus and minus buttons to select the effect. Once selected, we can change the value of the effect using the plus and minus buttons. These are the building blocks of how you create a track on the Tracker Mini. by writing a note assigned to an instrument with up to 2 effects per step. The Tracker Mini only uses the WAV file format. It outputs CD quality sound, which is uncompressed WAV files, 44.1 kHz, 16-bit. Samples can be loaded from the SD card into the Tracker Mini memory. A sample loaded to the internal list becomes an instrument, a PTI file. If you're finding this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could like this video and subscribe, as I'm trying to build the channel into something more significant. I have a whole bunch of other MPC and sampler videos in the works, so I hope to see you around. To delete a note, make sure you're in record mode and have the note lane selected by pressing the note button once. Then press the delete button and that will erase the entire step. This will include the note, the instrument and all effects. The same goes for the instrument lane. Deleting from the instrument lane will erase the entire step. To delete either of your effects in record mode, press the button for the desired effects lane and then the delete button. Deleting effects will not delete your note or instrument, it'll just delete the effects lane you're on. To copy and paste, you have to be in record mode. Select the step you want to copy and press the copy button. Navigate to where you want to put it and hold Shift and press the copy button again to paste. You can also make larger block selections even across different tracks. While in record mode, hold Shift and use the D-pad to make your selection. Then just copy and paste as explained previously. Regardless of which lane you're in when pressing the copy button, it will copy and paste that entire cell or block, including the note, instrument and effects if there are any. To change the device's master volume, simply go to the first page of the master settings by pressing 4. It's the very first setting on the left. Once it's selected or outlined in red, either use the D-pad or the plus and minus buttons to adjust the master level. Alternatively, you can just hold Shift and use the plus and minus buttons to adjust your track's master volume from any other menu. To change your project's BPM, hold the menu button and use the D-pad to navigate to the song menu. Hold the button underneath the tempo setting, far right. As you hold it, it will turn red. Use the plus and minus buttons to change the tempo. For tap tempo, tap the tempo screen button 4 times instead of holding it. The metronome is only audible during live recording mode, which needs an external keyboard or other MIDI controller connected to play the notes. To start a live recording, hold the record button while pressing the play button. It will behave according to your metronome settings. To adjust your metronome settings, go to your config menu and scroll down to metronome. Here you can customize it to your liking. When in pattern mode, hold Shift and use the contextual screen menu to quickly mute and unmute tracks. To solo a track, go to page 2 of the master menu. So from another menu, press 4 twice. This will display the mixer. Here, hold Shift, which will change the contextual button's mute function to solo. From there you can navigate away, but you'll have to repeat these steps to unsolo the track again. While we're in the mixer, to change the track's volume, simply hold the contextual screen button for the track you want to adjust, then use the plus and minus buttons to turn the track up or down. Also in the mixer view, to change the track's name, click the record button to enter record mode. This will present you with red edit text underneath each track. Click the contextual screen button under the track you'd like to rename and use the keyboard that pops up. Track names can be a maximum of 7 characters long. Because tracks are not necessarily linked to specific instruments, you'll be jumping between different sounds and their settings very often. The shortcut for the instrument parameters menu is 2. So all you do is to navigate to the block or step which contains your sound and just press 2. This will take you to the setting for that instrument regardless if you're in record or play mode. The root note for samples by default is set to C5. That means once you've loaded a sample or instrument and want to trigger it at its raw original pitch and speed, you'll do so by playing a C5 note. You can change this in the settings if you'd like. Just navigate to the config menu again and scroll down to MIDI. Second from the bottom, you can assign what note you prefer as your device's middle C. There are 8 different sample playback modes which you can access by pressing 3. If you're in beat slice mode, the first slice will be triggered on C2, the second slice will be C#2, the third slice will be D2, and so forth. Press 3 to go to the sample playback menu. To easily chop your sample into equal slices, simply hold the Shift button while in that menu. The options at the bottom of the screen will change. You can then use the contextual screen buttons to set the number of slices you'd like using the D-pad. Once happy, just click equal slice and voila. Do note that this functionality is exclusive to the slice and beat slice modes. The Tracker Mini works best with shorter samples. If you have a longer sample that you only want to chop a particular part out of before importing it, you can do that. Hold the menu button and navigate to the sample loader page. Navigate to your samples folder on the SD card. Once on the desired sample, click import via the contextual screen button. You'll be presented with the sample waveform and start and end points. Simply use the contextual screen menu buttons in conjunction with the plus and minus buttons to select the snippet you'd like to import. You can preview your selection by pressing the preview button. Once you're happy with your selection, you can click on import low quality to save on memory or just import normal for full quality. The Tracker Mini will then import only the selected part of the sample as your instrument. Sidechaining is possible through the master limiter. Unfortunately, it's very basic, but you can make your whole song duck to an assigned track, for instance a kick drum. To do this, simply go to the first page of your master menu by pressing 4. Press the limiter's contextual screen button to access its settings. In the sidechain column on the right, select the source track, in this case it'll be our kick. As you adjust the threshold, all the tracks other than the source track should start ducking to the kick. You'll hear it and it'll be visually displayed in light blue in the gain reduce column. You can adjust the limiter's attack and release settings in the first two columns. To move to the top position of your pattern quickly, hold Shift and press the Insert button. Say you stop playback at a certain point in your pattern. If you just press the play button, it's going to start playing from the beginning of the pattern, which can get annoying. To continue playback from exactly where you are in the pattern, hold Shift and press the play button. The Mini setting page is well laid out. It even includes descriptions for some parameters, which is awesome. Most of this is self-explanatory and I encourage you to go through this yourself. Depending on how you make music with the Tracker Mini, some things might be more important to you than others. I'm not going to go into all the settings, but here are some highlights. You can enable or disable anti-aliasing. Disabling it will give you more of a lo-fi sound, especially if the samples are tuned drastically. If you prefer to preserve maximum audio quality, keep this enabled. This machine runs quite hot in terms of headroom and there's built-in saturation, which is awesome, but it gets accentuated if you're pushing things into the red and that might not be what you're going for. So I recommend enabling the extra headroom feature to avoid saturating your project unintentionally. To avoid clicks when chopping your samples, enable snap to 0. This will change the slice divider from red to green as you move it over the sample in the beat slice or slice playback modes. If possible, try to cut on the green, although it's not always possible. Regardless, you can always still get rid of clicks by subtracting some attack via each instrument's envelope. But it makes sense to just leave this enabled as it doesn't hurt really. The Mini's battery is pretty amazing, but keep an eye on your screen brightness regardless. If you're working in a low light room, setting the brightness to low will look fine and also save you some battery. If you're outside, high is the way to go. Medium is a good middle ground. This machine is insanely fun and I hope these shortcuts and tips help you get into the music making faster. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. If you'd like to try an experimental sample chopping technique that would work great with the Tracker Mini, be sure to check out this video. Until next time, tot ziens!